The rent in the ad says $1,400. You budget for $1,400, but by the time you sign the lease, the real number is $1,700 because of fees you never saw coming. An application fee, an administrative fee, an amenity fee for a pool you'll never swim inches, a technology fee just to pay your rent online. On a fixed income, that gap isn't an annoyance, it can be the difference between comfortable and stretched every single month. This is the rental junk fee trap, and in 2026 it's finally being cracked down on. But here's the thing. The new rules won't help you if you don't know what to ask before you sign. So in this video, I'm going to give you the exact questions to ask a landlord or leasing office, the ones that force those hidden fees out into the open before you commit. I'll also show you the new rights you have this year, and what to do if you've already been overcharged. And one of these fees they'll swear is mandatory. Often, it isn't. Before we start, if you or someone you love is renting on a fixed income, subscribe and turn on the bell. This is the kind of thing that quietly costs seniors thousands. All right, let's expose the trap. Here's how the trap works. A landlord advertises a low base rent to win the click in the tour. That number looks competitive, so you compare it against other places and it seems like a deal. But the base rent isn't the real price. Stacked on top are mandatory monthly fees that don't show up until you're deep into the application, sometimes not until the lease is in front of you and you've already paid a non-refundable application fee to get there. And this hits older renters especially hard, for two reasons. First, many seniors are downsizing and renting for the first time in decades, so this fee-stacking game is new and unfamiliar. Second, you're often on a fixed income, where an extra $200 or $300 a month has nowhere to hide in the budget. The regulators have noticed the FTC calls these charges deceptive because they make it impossible to compare prices honestly. So the first step is simple. Learn to recognize the fees by name, so none of them can surprise you. Let me walk you through them. These are the usual suspects, and just knowing the list takes away their power. There's the application fee, charged before you're even approved, sometimes on multiple applicants for the same unit. There's the administrative or admin fee, a vague charge for paperwork the landlord was going to do anyway. There's the amenity fee, billed monthly whether or not you use the gym or pool. There's the technology or portal fee, a charge just to access the online system, and sometimes a separate convenience fee on top just to pay your rent electronically. Then it keeps going. Mandatory trash or valet trash fee, a pest control fee, a package handling fee, and move-in and move-out fees. Some buildings even require you to buy renters insurance through their chosen provider at a marked-up rate, when you could get it cheaper on your own. None of these are automatically illegal, but many are quietly mandatory, poorly explained, and designed to be invisible until it's too late to walk away. Now that you can name them, here are the 5 questions that force them into the light. This is the heart of the video, so grab a pen. Question number 1, and it's the most important. What is the true total monthly cost, base rent plus every mandatory fee, and can I get that number in writing? Say it exactly like that. You are not asking for the advertised rent. You are asking for the all-in number you will actually pay every month. Getting it in writing matters, because a promise at the leasing desk means nothing later. And here's your leverage. In a growing number of states, they're now legally required to show you that total. Colorado's new law, in effect since January 2026, requires rental ads to display the true total price, including mandatory fees, more prominently than anything else. Other states are following. Question number 2. Which of these fees are mandatory, and which are optional? And for the optional ones, how do I avoid them? This is where you catch the biggest trick, because leasing offices love to present optional add-ons as if they're required. That valet trash service, that premium package locker, that resident benefits package. Some of these you can decline. Colorado's law actually requires landlords to tell you how to avoid the optional fees. So make them separate, the truly mandatory from the merely profitable. Next, 2 more questions that protect you inside the lease itself. Question number 3. Is every fee itemized in the lease? With the amount, the purpose, and whether it's refundable, a legitimate fee can survive daylight. If a charge can't be clearly explained or written down, that's your red flag. This matters most with deposits. You want to know exactly what your security deposit covers, under what conditions it's kept, and when it's returned. Some states now require this in writing up front. Virginia, for example, requires the very first page of the lease to lay out an itemized list of rent, deposits, and every upfront fee, precisely so tenants stop getting blindsided. Question number 4. Am I being charged for something you're legally required to provide, or being forced to use a specific vendor? This one comes straight from what regulators are targeting. Landlords generally can't charge you extra for services the law already requires them to provide. I'm forcing you to use their designated marked up service provider is exactly the kind of practice the FTC has flagged. If a fee smells like paying twice for something that should be included, question it. And there's one more question that catches the fees that show up later, after you've moved inches. Question number 5. What are the exact late fee, lease renewal, and move-out charges in writing? Before I sign, so many junk fees don't appear at move-in. They ambush you later. An unclear late fee that balloons. A mandatory administrative fee slapped on at renewal. Move-out cleaning charges nobody mentioned. Ask for all of it up front, and a fair landlord will happily show you. A landlord who dodges the question is telling you something important. Now here's the good news that makes 2026 different. You are not powerless anymore. Regulators are actively going after this. The FTC reached a settlement with Greystar, the largest rental operator in the country, requiring it to change its fee practices and pay tens of millions in refunds to renters. And it sent out roughly $50 million in checks to affected tenants from another case. More than 24 state attorneys general are pushing for a national transparency rule. And states like Colorado, Virginia, and California already have laws on the books. The tide is turning in your favor, you just have to use it. So let me tell you what to do if you've already been caught. If you're already in a lease loaded with fees you were never told about, take these steps. First, gather your paperwork, the original ad or listing, your application, and the signed lease, and compare the advertised rent to what you're actually paying. That gap is your evidence. Second, put your concern to the landlord in writing, referencing your state's fee disclosure law if it has one, and ask for a correction or refund. Written requests get taken seriously in a way phone calls don't. Third, if they won't fix it, report it to the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov and to your state attorney general's Consumer Protection Office. These reports feed the exact enforcement actions that have already won renters millions. And before you ever sign your next lease, check whether your state has a fee transparency law. Quick search of your state's name plus rental fee disclosure law tells you what protections you can lean on. You have more leverage than you think. So before you sign any lease in 2026, ask these 5, and don't apologize for asking. 1. What's the true total monthly cost? In writing. 2. Which fees are mandatory? Which are optional? And how do I avoid the optional ones? 3. Is every fee itemized, with amounts and refund terms? 4. Am I paying for something you're required to provide, or forced to use your vendor? And 5. What are the exact late, renewal, and move-out charges? Write those 5 on a card and bring it to every showing. A fair landlord will answer all of them without blinking. The one who won't just told you everything you needed to know. Protecting your fixed income starts with one honest question at the leasing desk. If this helped you see through the trap, subscribe so the next money-saving guide finds you, and share it with a senior who's renting or about to. 5 questions could save them thousands. I'll see you in the next one.